Hey everyone, welcome to Essay Ruby. This one's going to be a little different. I'm just going to record it. People like to RSVP to things and then not show up, so actually no one showed up to the Saturday one. So I'm just going to let people watch it later, and hopefully somebody gets something out of this. The idea here was to kind of have fun with Ruby with a quiz, whether something's in Ruby or it's in Rails. And I had originally done this. I have a good streak with this one. I guess no one's really that interested, but maybe someone will actually watch this. I prepared this like 2 years ago at a meetup scheduled downtown, and I went there, and no one showed up to that one. So, um, you want to repel people? Just talk about things in Ruby. No, I don't know. Something about this one. So this was the original version. Actually, all those things apply still today. So these things are pretty fundamental to Ruby and Rails, and I don't think they're changing anytime soon if they haven't changed over the last few years. And it will help you for years to come. I was going to ask if people are familiar with blocks, but I'm just going to assume that's the case. Go look it up if you're not. Our first quiz is array.first. Is this in Ruby or Rails? And I'm assuming people will think this is a fundamental part of Ruby. Could be wrong. And you would be right if you thought it was part of Ruby. It's actually part of Ruby. So it does just what you think. It gets the first element of the array. The interesting part of this is it actually takes an argument as well. So if you wanted the first two elements of the array in the example there, you could pass it 2 and you get the first two elements. So maybe that's something you learned today. Moving on, what about array second? Array second, probably less common, so I think I would get this one. It's part of Rails. But the interesting thing is Rails actually has array third, array fourth, array fifth, and of course you can't forget array 42 just for fun. So that's kind of neat. Try array 42, show someone that. Some free time. There's also something else in Rails, which is array second to last and third to last. These are kind of neat. I don't think I've ever actually used these, but I can see this being useful. It's a lot easier than doing like the alternative, which would be, I think, array and then index it by like -1 or -2. So it's much more intuitive to think like second to last, third to last. Last is obviously just last. So what that looks like, there you go. The index self -2 would be the other way to do it if you wanted second to last. And yeah, you have an array second to last. It gives you the second to last one. Pretty intuitive. It's really nice. Nicely added. You can see why Rails added that. Okay, this one, array without. Since I'm the one that made this 2 years ago, I know the answer. This one is going to be Rails. That's what I'm going with. And it is Rails. Yeah, so this is kind of interesting as well. You want to just take some, remove some elements of the array. You can do it without. And it's very, very intuitive, easy to read. Says this is an optimization of enumerable without that uses array minus instead of array and reject. Okay, so apparently the answer is both. I was wrong. Let's take a quick look at that. I have these open. The latest enumerable is without in here. I see something. No. Okay, I'm a little confused by that then. Alright. Interesting. We'll move on. I don't see it in enumerable. I don't know why I had that comment. It says enumerable without. Interesting. I'll have to do some research or someone let me know the reason for that. Okay, moving on. Enumerable sum. Yeah, this seems pretty basic sum, and there's a lot of stuff in Ruby, so I'm going to go with Ruby. And you can see the answer up there. I'm going to hide that. Just noticed you can cheat. Yeah, so it actually is part of Ruby, but it's only part of Ruby 2.4 and above, which is kind of interesting. It wasn't initially part of Ruby. So I think this is one of those that was inspired by Rails and moved into Ruby. So you can see what it does. Sum does what you would expect without any arguments. The probably more interesting part is if it takes a block, this first example, you can actually pass it a block and then it'll sum the results of whatever's in the block. So you can see it like, it'll multiply the first two, add them up. Sorry, key value. There we go. Okay, so it multiplies 10 times 1, you get 10, and then 10 times 2, or sorry, 20 times 2, you get 40. So 10 plus 40 is 50. So you can see it's used on a hash. Since it's an enumerable, it can be part of an array, or actually this is an range as well. This is a range. And yeah, apparently not object. You get a type error. And let's see what the last one is. You can sum with passing an empty array. It's interesting. I don't know why you would want to do that. But that does work, and it gives you... Oh, it actually turns it into an array. So that's why you would want to do that. This is a little... I guess that kind of makes sense when you think about it. Maybe not the first idea I would have with this. Let's create a hash that's summed up and turn it into an array. But I'm sure there's use cases for that. And then this last one is a little more complicated. It's summing each line. It's combining the lines using sum. So it's taking out the new lines there. But it's using some lazy as well. Yeah, so there's a lot to that sum there, a lot of different ways. When I think of sum, I think of like math though, so it's kind of weird, like using strings. I'm not sure if that's the most intuitive. I would like use string concatenation or something, but that's available. Maybe it's useful in some cases. Oh gosh, I'm showing the answers again. Okay, enumerable include. Enumerable include. I'm going to go with, this seems pretty basic. It's got to be Ruby, yeah. Here's some examples of that. It's pretty intuitive, like is this value included in array or whatever. Also a list is member apparently, so you can see you have all your constants. Is this one part of the constants? Then there's enumerable exclude. Somewhat of a trick question. This one is Rails. So yeah, there's a nice balance between the include, exclude, and Rails just added the exclude, which is really nice. Is it not part of it? So you don't have to do that inversion with the bang operator. So that's really nice. I think I'm gonna keep that one in mind. I'm not sure I've used that. Okay, array join. So join is very common, but this is on array. Usually, yeah, keep that in mind. I honestly don't know. I'm gonna go with Rails. Oh my gosh, I got it wrong. Embarrassing. Okay, so yeah, this is part of Ruby, and you can see what join does here. It takes an array and it just combines it, kind of like that sum is doing actually. I think this is more intuitive though. So you have an array, you can join it with different things, turns it into a string. Yeah. Actually, I take back what I said earlier. This is really common on array. I'm thinking of something else. Yeah, this is very common to do. I should have known. getting confused with my own things. This is the one that's not so common. Array split. Yeah. So, I'm going to say rows. Okay, good. Back to not looking stupid. All right. Yeah, so split on an array. This is totally different. This is like, yeah, splitting it into sections. So it doesn't have anything to do with strings, which is where my confusion was coming from. I was thinking of this earlier. So you can see you have an array, you want to split it 3. Interesting. 1. Why does it split it in pairs if you say split 3? It divides the array into one or more sub-arrays based on the delimiting value. Oh, the key is based on the delimiting value. So you can see the delimiting value is 3, so it's going to split between 1 and 2, and 4 and 5. I was thinking I was going to create pairs, but no, it's something else. There's stuff for that as well. Or actually create triplets, but don't get confused like that. It just splits based on that delimiting value. And then you can do some fancier stuff here, where pass a block. If it's if it's divisible by 3, then you split based on that value. So 1 to 10, you can see 3 is there, 6, it splits there and there. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know when you'd actually use this. I can't think of use cases, but it's there if you ever need it. Oh gosh. Okay. Okay, so this is the one that's common, string net split. And this is really commonly used for common delimited values. And there's a bunch of stuff here. We don't have to go through all this, but you can see, yeah, you can split by space. It's commonly split by using commas like this, where it's common. But you can it's also commonly used with spaces, which is the default. Yeah, and this is part of Ruby. So join array.join. So you join it back. You can go back to the original. Split. You can go from string to array. Be common. We use that quite a bit. Oh, I forgot about it. Okay, next array fetch. Array fetch. I think I remember this from last night when I was looking at this. I think this is actually Ruby, which is surprising to me. I would expect Rails. Yeah. Okay, what does this do? We want to fetch 1. So I guess that's the index. So you get the number 22 in that case. So it's just like indexing an array. That's probably why I don't know about this, because I would just do like array brackets 1, which is the same thing. Probably should include in the documentation here, because I don't see the value in this. So let's take a quick look. Fetch, which is part of array. That's not it. Okay. Oh, here it is. Oh, coincidence right there. Returns the element offset with a single integer argument index. Returns the element at offset index. The index is negative, counts. Okay, so this seems like exactly what the brackets would do. Oh, here we go. Here's something different. So you can give it a default. 1. No, yeah, with arguments, index, and default to return. So that, I don't think you can do that with, well, you can do that with just brackets. Yeah, so that's cool. Oh, you can also pass a block. Okay, so the other ones are pretty useful. You can raise, like if it's not found, that's useful. Sorry. think I might actually use this now. What's this last one? Value for index. Okay, so it's just kind of like adding a string to the value found. I'm not sure I like doing that like that, but I could, yeah, blocks could definitely be useful for certain circumstances. That's interesting. Very basic way to get something out of an array. Okay, let's go to the next one. Array sample. Well, this is one of my favorites. And this is, I'm going to go with Ruby, but I could be wrong, but I don't really know. Okay, it's Ruby. Yeah, this is really useful if you just want some like random data from an array. You can, by default, it just takes one value. You can get several values. It looks like it also takes a, I don't know what this random RNG is. I guess that's a random seed, I'm guessing. Let's take a look at this one real fast. This looks interesting too. Curious about those. Random returns random element from self. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, random.new. Optional random argument will be used as a random number generator. Oh, okay, yeah. There you go. So you can use your own random number generator. If you're picky about how numbers are randomly generated, which I guess could be a thing. If you really want certain guarantees about the randomness. I don't think that would ever be what I want, but I could see the use case for that. Okay, hash deep merge. This is gotta be Rails. Yeah. Let's see what this does. Okay, we got A values, B values, and then when we combine them together with the deep merge, it uses this X, and it takes this one as well. Those don't match. Well, actually, he matches, but it combines them, so it's merging the inner value there. And it's taking the A that's false, so it's taking this one, takes precedence over the second one, but if they don't match, then it combines them. Perfect explanation. Alright, then there's hash merge. This has gotta be Ruby. That seems so basic. Okay, so this is gonna merge, but this isn't a deep merge, so I guess it's only one level. But you can see it kind of does the same thing. Basically, you can see the B's there, but it's going to take the second one over the first one. And then you can do some fancy stuff with blocks. New value, old value, the key, yeah. It's just making me think hard. So yeah, A, B, and C in this case. 54. Yeah, so it's actually subtracting this one from this one on the base, and then it's just keeping the other ones. So I think that's, I don't know, probably useful in some cases, but a little hard to understand. I think there's a lot going on there. So that's hash.merge just by Ruby. Hash reverse merge. This one's very useful. And as you can see, it's part of Rails. And this reverse merge is like counterintuitive or something. Like that second option is the one you usually use. I guess you even want to use the first option, so it's like different, but it makes a lot more sense like with defaults as alias to me. So you can see the equivalent is like, it's just doing it backwards. But it, like it says, it's particularly useful for initializing option tasks with default values. So in Rails controllers, this is a really good way to handle default values. Okay, fetch values. We looked at fetch earlier. So this is hash. So you can take, it's like a way to get the values, right? But the question is it in Ruby or Rails? I'm gonna go with Ruby, because I remember from yesterday. Yeah, so fetch values, key value, the values are feline, canine, bovine. We just want those two values. You can see bovine and feline. And you throw in one that doesn't exist. Bird, it raises an error. You can also do a block. Let's do something else on those that we return. I'm a little confused, this one's not upcased. Yeah, it's bovine. That's confusing to me, but I guess that's the way it works. If it finds it, it returns it. If it doesn't, it's like a default block. I bet I can make that clearer if I go to hash and look up fetch values. I bet it's a default. No. When a block is given, calls the block with each missing key, treating the block's return value as the value for that key. That is not what I would expect. Yeah, I don't know. Most things in Ruby are pretty intuitive. That one, I'm just not sure why they did it that way. It's interesting. So if you want an example of something that's counterintuitive, there you go. At least in me. Okay, transform values. That was fetch values, transform values. I don't remember. I'm gonna go with Rails. Both, yes, I got it right. I'm actually in Ruby 2.4. Okay, so this one makes more sense. It's changing the value. So you want to multiply each value by 2, you just give it a block, multiply by 2, transform the values. There you go. Any questions? Alright, just kidding. Thanks for watching. I hope I can do this in person pretty soon. And if you RSVP, please show up next time. Thanks.